What does filmed for IMAX mean? It isn't just a movie that'll look great on IMAX's screens. It means that hiding from a sandstorm feels like fear in every flicker. And every triumph is felt in every sound wave. And the things we've only imagined, you can truly experience those too. That's what filmed for IMAX means. Get tickets to experience Dune Part 2 now and IMAX's exclusive expanded aspect ratio.
Survivor 46 is here, and so is On Fire, the only official Survivor podcast, and we have a twist this season. The winner of Survivor 45, Dee Valladares, will be joining us every week.
We're going behind the scenes of the biggest moments, the how and the why things happen, and the strategy and analysis you can only get from someone like me, a Survivor winner.
Listen to On Fire, the official Survivor podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.
Does Monday at the office feel like a storm? Not with Microsoft Copilot. That feeling when Copilot gets everyone up to speed instantly? It's sunny again. When Copilot simplifies complex data so your teams can act, that sun's shining on a beach. And when Copilot uncovers hidden insights, you're on that beach with your people, and you find buried treasure. That's Microsoft Copilot. Learn more at Microsoft.com/AI for all.
Slashers, huh? What's your favorite scary movie?
Not that one.
And welcome back to Horror Queers. It's not a regular awards show. I'm stealing your thunder. It's the 2023 Hereditaries. I'm Joe.
And I'm Trace. And yes, this is the Hereditaries. Welcome, everyone. Our horror version of the Oscars, voted on by you, our listeners.
Indeed, yeah. So we have done this for several years. We change out the categories. Sometimes we add, sometimes we subtract. But yeah, the winners are always decided by you. And now we're going to do who we think should win in each category. And then we'll announce who you actually voted for.
Yes. And I feel like normally I'm the winner in these battles. But I feel like last year we were kind of like neck and neck.
I think last year we may have tied, but
yeah, I think that's the
usually you
case.
do win.
I think you're getting better at figuring out what the general populace likes.
Yeah, the answer is what's most readily available / what was most popular.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I've got a bit of stats before we hop into this. So,
Okay.
Yeah, as I mentioned, we've got about 20 categories for this year. And the survey was open for about 2.5 to 3 weeks back in December. And according to my results, as compiled by my lovely husband, we got 910 responses. The highest number of responses that we received was for Best Mainstream Film. Not a big surprise there.
Not surprising, yeah.
And the category that we had the least responses for was Best Queer Horror Film, which tells me that a couple hundred people need to watch more queer horror.
Oh no, everyone, what are you doing? We're literally the Horror Queers podcast.
I'm going to suggest that part of that was because this was open to everybody, not just the people who listen to the pod. So if you were reading Bloody Disgusting, you might have stumbled on this and you might have clicked the link to vote. So it's possible people didn't know who we were, but you know what? The vote is the vote, so it will count regardless.
The vote is the vote. Well, do you want to kick us off with the first category, Joe?
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to start with Best Horror TV Show, and our nominees include Chucky Season 3, Part 1, Dead Ringers, The Fall of the House of Usher, From Season 2, The Last of Us, Swarm, Twisted Metal Season 1, and Yellow Jackets Season 2. So, for the should win pick, I'm going to say The Last of Us, because I think it was an absolutely gangbusters first season, and it could have gone so badly. So, the fact that it went so right, it's my pick.
Yes, I was torn between two shows, but I eventually went with The Last of Us as well for should win.
Was the other one the Follow the House of Usher?
It was, but I actually think that one is going to win this award.
Oh, really?
I do. I mean, and you know what? If either one of these shows wins, I'll be happy because I don't think there's a bad show in the bunch of all these nominees.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, going through these categories was like a Sophie's choice, like which child gets thrown to the dingoes, because we had some really, really good nominees this year.
Yes. But wait, so is The Last of Us your pick for will win as well?
Yes, it is. So we are already diverging.
All right. Who's got it?
Okay, so the winner is... You are correct, Trace. It is The Fall of the House of Usher with 34.2%, and the runner-up was The Last of Us with 23.3%. And surprise, third place was Swarm with 15.9%.
Oh, good for them. You know, honestly, the ones I thought for sure weren't going to make it, like at least even in the running, were from season 2 because I don't think enough people have seen it.
Yeah.
I was arguably going to say Twisted Metal, but I know that broke records for Peacock. Although, honestly, Yellow Jackets is probably a low baller there too, because not a lot of people liked season 2.
Yeah. I mean, some of these also feel like they're half seasons, or we didn't get like a full complete story out of it. So I wonder how much that ended up affecting the win.
Yeah, possibly. But oh well, congratulations to The Fall of the House of Usher. Well deserved. It was a great swan song from Mike Flanagan on Netflix.
Absolutely. And folks, if you want to hear our thoughts on that, we do have a Patreon episode on the entire season.
Yeah. Next up, though, okay, so we're going into the performances section of our Hereditaries, and the first up is Breakout Performance. So, our nominees are Kristen Cui for Knock at the Cabin, Steffi Chin Salvo for Totally Killer, Sinav Maskedy Lund for Saw 10, Cassandra Nod for Influencer, Woody Norman for Cobweb, Dwayne Perkins for The Blackening, Natalia Solian for Huesera the Bone Woman, and Alyssa Sutherland for Evil Dead Rise. And Joe, I was stuck between two again, but I'm going for the should win as Sanav Maskedy Lund for Saw 10.
Okay. I knew you were a big fan, so I'm not entirely surprised by that.
What about you? Who do you think should win this?
So, I mean, again, an embarrassment of riches. I think all of these people are more than worthy of being nominated. I went for the person that was the big surprise. You know, who is this? It's a shocking turn. So I ended up going for Cassandra Nod for Influencer because I just think she ended up carrying that film.
Yeah, you are 100% correct. I'm actually surprised, honestly, because my will win, I think it's going to be Alyssa Sutherland for Evil Dead Rise.
Yeah, so that is also my will win, if only because she is quite the revelation in that film. My only hesitancy was people did seem kind of mixed on it, but of these nominees, that's arguably the most mainstream, easy, accessible, big title. So I think Sutherland's going to take it.
Well, and I also think, though, because, yeah, even though I agree, I think most people were like either mixed to mixed positive on it, everyone singled out Sutherland for that role.
For sure.
So, who's the winner, Joe?
So this is a landslide, and we are both correct. It is Alyssa Sutherland for Evil Dead Rise. She takes it with 48.1. And then we fall way down to single digits, and we've got Dwayne Perkins for The Blackening, which is great. Queer representation. And then we've got Sinove McLeod Lund for Saw X at 9%.
Oh, good. Thank you for pronouncing her name correctly.
You know what? I'm going to fuck up a bunch of names later, so you can just help me out then.
It's okay. I didn't pronounce it correctly, so you win that one. All right, what's next, Joe?
Okay, so we're moving into Best Ensemble. So which film had the greatest cast? And our nominees are The Blackening, Cocaine Bear, Knock at the Cabin, Scream 6, and Summoning Sylvia. And I did The Blackening for should win because I thought that this ensemble was so funny and they just gelled so well. I really found their chemistry very, very believable. So they were my pick for should.
They were my second pick. My first pick is for Scream 6, if only because just that core four, you know? I mean, I feel like that really, really, really resonated with a lot of people, and it definitely resonated with me. And, you know, having a group of people that aren't from the original trilogy and having them be as likable and wonderful as they are in that film, I think that's an astonishing achievement. However, I do agree with you. I think the blackening wouldn't work half as well as it does without that ensemble.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, my vote for will win is Scream 6, because I think everyone is just agreeing with you as you said that. Like, the film only works as well as it does because we legitimately care about that core four. Like, they did so much work to make us invest in that, and I think people are going to vote for it.
Agreed. And that is also my pick for will win. I think Scream 6 is going to take that home.
So we are correct again. Scream 6 takes it with 44.5.
Woo.
And then the runner-up is The Blackening at 29.4. So that's fantastic because I felt like people slept on The Blackening. The people who saw it liked it, but a lot of people didn't see it. So I'm really glad to see it showing up in second place.
I mean, we're getting a sequel, so people will go see it again. I will say, everyone out of all these two, do check out Summoning Sylvia. It's basically like the gay horror comedy in the group, but it's not going to knock your socks off, but I think it's a really entertaining time.
It is, and that cast is so fun together. Like, it has the same kind of energy as The Blackening, only deeply, deeply gay.
And here's the thing, as it may not be like a 5-star film, it is quite funny. I think that was my fear when I started watching it, was that it was going to be like a lot of jokes that just missed, and I'm happy to say that most of them hit for me.
Yeah, same. Cosign for me.
All right. Well, next up, we have Best Supporting Performance. And again, embarrassment of riches here. We've got Dave Bautista in Knock at the Cabin, Nicolas Cage in Renfield, Lizzie Kaplan in Cobweb, Patti LuPone in Beau is Afraid, Margot Martindale in Cocaine Bear, Mark Patton in Swallowed, and Shawnee Smith in Saw 10. And for my should win, again, I was so torn here. I went with Lizzie Kaplan in Cobweb for my should win because even though I wish she was in the movie more, I just love what she does with that performance. It feels like it's straight out of a fairy tale. Like, it's very stylized. It feels, honestly, a little bit of a Douglas Sirkian like melodrama to her performance, which I just thought really added to the effect of that film.
Yeah, I was definitely torn between two. I really love Dave Bautista's performance, and I think he was probably the strongest part of Knock at the Cabin for me. But I ended up going with your pick as well for should win. When I reflected back on these nominees, the person who jumped out as doing the most with limited screen time was Lizzie Kaplan. Although I will say, it gets really hard when you got somebody like Margot Martindale in there because she's doing so much, but it's a very comedic performance, whereas Lizzie Kaplan is doing like camp drama, and it's really hard to say who does it better. But at the end of the day, I was like, I feel like Cobweb is that film I just keep thinking about.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing, right? For me, it's like, okay, which one of these performances is going to stick with me the longest? And I do think at the end of the day, it's Lizzie Kaplan, but I was also kind of torn because I also really, really like Shawnee Smith in Saw 10, and I think that she is going to take this award.
Okay, that's interesting. I think it's going to be Dave Bautista.
Interesting. All right. Well, Joe, kick us off. Who is the best supporting performance of 2023?
Okay, so we are actually on the wavelength. I take this one. It is Dave Bautista at 21.2, but hot on his heels is Shawnee Smith in Saw X with 18.1, followed by Lizzie fucking Kaplan with 16.5.
Man, and I honestly, I truly didn't think Bautista was going to win. I do agree he is the best part of that movie. I just figured that people didn't like the movie enough to want to reward that performance, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, none of these options were actually big films. Like, you were probably right to think Saw X because it was arguably the biggest of that bunch. But I think at the end of the day, people didn't walk away saying, ooh, Shawnee Smith. Like, they liked the movie, but I think when people saw Knock at the Cabin, everybody was unanimous. It was Bautista all the way.
Right. Okay, well, Joe, we are tied 3-3 right now.
Ooh, okay. We'll see if Best Lead Performance ends up eking out a win or a step ahead. So we've got Diana Agron for Clock, Tobin Bell for Saw X, Anna Camp for From Black, Caitlin Dever for No One Will Save You, Mia Goth for Infinity Pool, Heather Graham in Suitable Flesh, Runosuke Kamiki for Godzilla -1, Marin Ireland and Judy Reyes. Yes, we cheated with this one, but they are so co-leads, you almost have to consider it a single performance for Birth, Rebirth. Kiernan Shipka for Totally Killer, and Sophie Wilde for Talk to Me. And this was, as I said, honestly, such a good category, but it was also one of the easiest ones to pick for will win, should win.
Okay, wait, so who is your should win?
It's Sophie Wilde all the way.
Interesting. Okay, so my should win is actually Marin Ireland and Judy Reyes for Birth, Rebirth.
Oh, okay.
But I put for will win, I put Mia Goth in Infinity Pool.
You know what? That is a really solid pick. The number of people who were singling out Mia Goth for praise is on par with Batista, so you may be onto something. I went with Sophie Wilde just because she feels like a revelation in Talk to Me, and that movie cannot work without her.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement with you. To be honest, I think just because I was very muted on Talk to Me, I just didn't think about it.
That's fair. That's fair.
All right, who's the winner, Joe?
The winner is, oh my god, up fucking set, Trace. Diana Agron takes it for Clock with 25.8.
What? Oh my god!
Is wild.
Okay, that makes me really happy, everyone. I didn't think this was gonna win at all, because I think enough people watch Clock. Y'all, Clock is a really solid film, but Diana Agron is legit great in it. So I'm really happy to see this, actually.
That is blowing my mind. So you were right with runner-up is Mia Goth for Infinity Pool with 22.7, followed by Tobin Bell for Saw X with 14.1.
Good. So Joe, one question before we move on to the next category, though, because we got some pushback because we did not nominate Melissa Barrera for this category, and I wanted to just kind of say why we didn't, because I figure she's part of that ensemble for Scream 6, right?
And honestly, it's the kind of performance that really works well as either part of a foursome or if you want to single out the sisters. Like, to me, it wasn't a lead performance, even though it obviously is, you know, she's the name on the marquee and everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, technically they're all in the marquee.
Well, yes, that's why they're in the lead.
Again, ensemble.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I think part of this is we were also looking to spread the love out a little bit. So when we looked at who people were nominating, like the number one nominee was Mia Goth by far. And then we looked for other big performances, like you watched Suitable Flesh and you said, oh, we've got to get Heather Graham in there. And so some of this, yes, is a little bit of us sticking our fingers in the pie and saying, okay, these movies need to be recognized. And I think we felt that Scream 6 was having a strong showing in a lot of other categories.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you there. All right, everyone. Well, moving into then the MVP of 2023. So these are performances from actors that were in multiple horror films of the year, or maybe big trends in the genre we saw this year. So, nominees are Kyle Gallner for The Passenger and Mother May I, Jenna Malone for Swallowed and Consecration, Woody Norman from Cobweb and The Last Voyage of the Demeter, Carter Smith for Swallowed and The Passenger, and the trend of the year is liminal horror for Skinamarink, The Outwaters, and Horror in the High Desert 2, Minerva.
So, Trace, this is an odd one. In previous years, we have not included a trend. It was just an actor. I don't even think we've included a director before. So This was shaking up the category. I'm interested. What did you pick for your should win?
Okay, so my should win and my will win are the exact same. I put the trend. I put liminal horror because, look, all of these things are, I think, fairly divisive this year. But at the very least, compared to all these other nominees, I think this is the thing that I saw people talking about the most this year.
Yeah. I mean, we have episodes. I'm just going to say we have episodes on pretty much everything that's nominated. So if you're at all interested in hearing our thoughts on the subject, definitely go and check out that Patreon. But you're not wrong. Skinamarink and The Outwaters were definitely polarizing lightning rods. People had thoughts and feelings and they wanted them heard. And it did feel like they were definitely driving the conversation around horror last year. I like this category just because it kind of shows us how much people are invested in the genre. So I did end up picking liminal horror for the will win as well. Although I'm going to say should win is, I was really divided between Carter Smith and Kyle Gallner.
Right.
I ended up going with Kyle Gallner because he's a horror prince. We love him. But the two films, very small, but very, very different roles. And I really love seeing Gallner's range. And he's going to have another good year with a title you and I are very excited for later on.
Yeah. I really love that Kyle Gallner's embraced horror. You know, we always talk about Scream Queens and like all the women that are in the genre, but I feel like we very rarely latch on to a male actor in the genre. So I'm glad that Kyle Gallner is kind of embracing this part of his career.
And if folks slept on Mother May I would recommend it. It's less horror than you maybe want in the same way that The Passenger is, but it's a good slow burn, and then people definitely slept on that one.
Yeah. But Joe, what is the winner for this one?
We are correct. It is Liminal Horror with 39.6% of the vote, followed by Kyle Gallner at 24.8%, and then rounding out with Jenna Malone at 15.5%.
All right. You know what? That's a pretty even spread. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. So our next category is a fun one. It's Best Creature Design. So we like to celebrate when things look good in horror. So, although I'm not gonna lie, one of these I'm just like, I wouldn't have personally voted for this one, and I don't know if I would have even put it on the ballot. But you know what? Let's start with that one. So,
is it the animatronics in Five Nights at Freddy's?
It's actually the Boogeyman, which was designed by Folks. So when we introduced this category a couple of years ago, we were asked to include either the FX studio or the creature designers, so who actually made the FX. So here are our nominees. We've got Boogeyman from Folks. We've got The Sister from Cobweb, which was designed by VFX Legion. We have the Were-Porcupine from A Creature Was Stirring, which was created by Wayne Anderson Design. Sawtooth Jack from Dark Harvest, which was created by Vincent Van Dyke FX. The animatronics from Five Nights at Freddy's, which was created by the Jim Henson Creature Shop. We've got Pashash from It Lives Inside, which was created by Masters FX. Dracula from The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which was created by Joran Lundstrom. And finally, the aliens from No One Will Save You, which was created by DNEG. And Trace, what is your should win for best creature design?
So I was torn between two. I was stuck between the Were-Porcupine and A Creature Was Stirring because everyone, I just think for a low budget film, that thing looks great and it's a unique creature design. But I ended up going with the Pishash from It Lives Inside by Masters Effects. Oh, yay! Again, it was one of those things where I wasn't expecting like a bunch of creature stuff in that movie, and when we get the reveal, a practical effect creature, by the way,
yes,
it's so impressive.
It's really impressive, and we actually get to see the full thing in full light. It looks good. It holds up. I'm glad that you also referenced the Were-Porcupine. We had some interesting issues with A Creature Is Stirring, but that creature design was unexpected and really fun to look at.
100% agreed. It was just great. But okay, so that was your should win. So I guess what is your will win for this?
So you did call it. I'm very underwhelmed by Five Nights at Freddy's, but I will say the animatronics looked very good. And I think as the most popular film in this batch, it's probably going to go to the Jim Henson Creature Shop.
See, and I didn't even consider this as an option for myself because no shade. I agree. I think the animatronics look good, but they're just mimicking what we've seen in the game, so it wasn't original enough for me. And you could argue the same thing about Dracula and Voyage of the Demeter, but I'm like, hey, that's a different take on Dracula, so it's like nevertheless, I went with Sawtooth Jack from Dark Harvest by Vincent Van Dyke Effects, which, by the way, I love that name.
Yeah, it's a great name. I almost put that for my should win because I was really impressed with Sawtooth Jack as well. My concern is just I don't think enough people actually saw that movie.
I know, and I think you're probably right. So I think you will end up winning. Again, I just don't think the animatronics are like original enough for me to give that something. But we'll see. Who wins, Joe?
See. Okay, so the winner is the animatronics from Five Nights at Freddy's, but only with 23% of the vote. Runner-up, shockingly enough, is The Sister from Cobweb with 16.9. And then we've got a tie for third with Dracula and the Aliens from No One Will Save You at 15.3.
Oh, see, I didn't do the Aliens from No One Will Save You because I thought they just looked like stereotypical aliens.
Well, but they had all those weird fingers and they came in all those different permutations.
Sure, I guess. I mean, again, no shade. It's a really good movie. It just, the alien creature design didn't stand out to me.
That's fair. There were a lot of other things in that film that really sung.
But I guess here's the thing. You and I are both on record as really liking Cobweb, but you don't really get a great look at that sister in the movie. I mean, you get like, it's all in shadows. It's all kind of like quick shots. So I guess I was a little surprised that came so close. But hey, I'm glad people liked it.
Hey, I mean, anytime I'm seeing high numbers for films we thought we were the only ones who really saw the film, liked the film, I'm happy for it.
Yeah. All right, moving into one of my favorite categories. This is Best Horror Score. And
this is a new category for this year.
Yes, and I like this so much because I feel like, you know, when we talk about horror scores, we have a lot of classic films from the 70s, 80s, 90s. I don't feel like there's a lot of modern horror scores that have really, like, I mean, again, time will tell, but have stood the test of time, I feel like.
Right, yeah. If nothing else, I'm happy that this is here because it's going to force me to pay more attention. As folks know, I'm notoriously bad with hearing scores. It's just not something that I really pick up on. So I'm happy that I'm now going to have to keep better track, or at least say, well, what were the top 5? Now you've got to pick.
Oh, man. Do we have a Best Costume category this year? Because you are to music scores as I am to costumes. So maybe we should just throw a costume category in here.
You know what? I will make a note, and we will add it for next year.
Do it. But our nominees for Best Horror Score are Cobweb by Drum and Lace, Godzilla -1 by Naoki Sato, Infinity Pool by Tim Hecker, No One Will Save You by Joseph Trapanese, and There's Something Wrong with the Children by the Sisters of Mercy. And my should win and will win for this is one and the same. I think the score for Godzilla -1 is going to take this home, and it should, I think.
Okay, so I had to go back and listen to all of these because I could only remember 2 of the 5. And I'm not going to lie, I wasn't fully impressed with a couple of them, but maybe that's a personal preference. I agree with you. I think Godzilla -1 is definitely going to take this. That score is so bombastic and in your face. It perfectly matches the tone of the film. So I think it's a great choice. But my choice for should win is actually the Sisters of Mercy for There's Something Wrong with the Children.
Yeah.
I cannot forget how that score almost interferes with the movie. It is so all-encompassing. It demands your attention. And I thought it was just really bold.
So for that reason, that was my second pick, actually. I don't know. For some reason, I remember you not loving how the score was like at odds with what was happening on screen in that movie. So I'm surprised but happy that you actually did pick that.
Well, I think if nothing else, it's a score I remember to this day.
Yep, there you go. But who is the winner, Joe?
So we are correct. It is Godzilla -1 with 30.6% of the vote.
Woo.
And then our runner-up is Infinity Pool with 29.8, followed by No One Will Save You at 18.5.
Okay, well, that just means more people need to go watch There's Something Wrong with the Children.
Honestly, yes. And, you know, we do have a Patreon episode about that one.
This episode is brought to you by Paramount Plus. Get in, loser! Mean Girls is now streaming on Paramount Plus. Join Katie Heron as she meets the plastics in Tina Fey's new twist on the modern classic. Get ready for more of the rumors, backstabbing, and jokes you loved from the original movie with some fetch surprises. Rated PG-13. Wear pink and head to ParamountPlus.com to try it free.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
All right, Joe. Well, kick us in now. We're going into spoiler territory, everyone. So if you are worried about, spoilers, just be careful from here on out.
Indeed, yes. We will be revealing things from some of last year's films, but also, you've had many months, so catch up already.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going to kick it off with Best Villain. So, Our nominees are The Parents, played by Lizzie Kaplan and Anthony Starr from Cobweb. We've got The Bear from Cocaine Bear. Deadite Ellie, played by Alyssa Sutherland from Evil Dead Rise. Godzilla from Godzilla -1. Although I would argue he's misunderstood. But
okay,
whatever.
But you could say that about a lot of villains. They're still villains.
So true. All right. The Clowns from Hell House LLC Origins, The Carmichael Manor. Gabby, played by Mia Goth in Infinity Pool. CW, played by Cassandra Nod from Influencer. Megan the Doll from Megan. Dr. Cecilia Peterson, played by Sinove McCodlond from Saw X. And finally, Rich, played by Mark Patton in Swallowed.
Okay, so my should win for this, and this might surprise you, I'm going with The Clowns from Hell House LLC Origins. I think out of all of these nominees, these were the ones that scared me and thus stuck with me the most.
That's a good pick. They are so fucking intimidating. And as we talked about in our episode on the film, it feels like they knew it and they just added more clown action to this film.
100%. But wait, so what's your should win then?
So my should win, I went back and forth on this a couple of different times because I actually really like this list.
Yeah, it's great.
I ended up going with Dr. Cecilia Peterson from Saw X because I just think she's having a ton of fun, and it was unexpected how much of a villain she actually is in that film.
100%. I mean, she goes toe-to-toe with Jigsaw and kind of sort of wins. I mean, in the fact that she is alive by the time the film ends.
Yes.
Yeah, she was my second pick for this, but I went with those clowns instead.
Okay. Who do you think will win?
Okay, I'm going back to the Evil Dead. Well, I think it's going to be Ellie, Alyssa Sutherland from Evil Dead Rise.
Ooh, interesting. I think you might be right. I ended up going with Gabby, who is Mia Goth in Infinity Pool, because I just saw so many people talking about this performance. And it's interesting because Infinity Pool is such a small movie. And yet at the end of the day, I think when Mia Goth shows up in horror, everybody just loses their mind.
Yeah, well, she didn't win Best Lead Performance. Diana Agra beat her. So,
Ooh, the shade is real.
All right, who's the winner, Joe?
Well, we're both fucking idiots because we got it wrong. It is the viral sensation herself. She's winning things on TikTok and she's winning the fucking Hereditary. It is Megan with 26.1% of the vote. Runner-up is your pick, Deadite Ellie with 21.9%. And then finally, Gabby with 14.3%.
Man, I mean, good for Megan. Wouldn't have been my pick, but, you know, viral is viral.
I guess so. I mean, here's the thing. You can't deny that Megan was a massive, massive hit. I guess I just figured that people voting would go for... I don't know. I thought they would go for a serious villain and not like the campy fun villain.
Yeah. So actually on that note, then I will be happy. Something campy won for best villain.
There we go. And even as I say this, I'm like, bitch, Gabby is a campy villain too. So I got no leg to stand on.
But I don't think the movie is particularly campy. I mean, there's campy elements to it, but like, I wouldn't call it a campy film.
Yeah.
But
James.
All right, now for one of my absolute favorite categories. This is the one I actually love making the nominations for every year. This is Best Sequence. Okay, or Best Set Piece, if you will. All right, everyone, we've got the ambulance attack in Cocaine Bear. We've got the peephole sequence in Evil Dead Rise. The attack on Ginza in Godzilla -1. Megan's dance in Megan. The hell montage in the Outwaters, which I would argue is maybe just the entire last hour of that movie. Valentina's trap in Saw 10. The ladder from Scream 6. The raft attack from Sick. The head bash from Talk to Me. And the dog attack from When Evil Lurks.
Oh boy. This one was impossible to
I know. Because the thing with this category too is that even in like mediocre or even a bad movie, they can always have one great set piece. So again, like Cocaine Bear, I think we're both kind of like, yeah, it's good, but it's not great. But the ambulance attack scene is really, really good.
It's the best. It's so fucking good.
Okay, so this should come as no surprise because this was my top film of last year, but I think the should win is the hell montage from the Outwaters. I know it will absolutely not win, but I just, again, what Robbie Banfitch did with a micro budget and, you know, him wearing about 10 different hats on the crew of this film. I just think it was so well done for having so little resources. So that's why this is my should win.
Yeah, I mean, this was a given. I absolutely knew you were going to pick it. You'd be happy to hear I actually had dinner with a friend when I was on vacation recently, and they talked about having seen the Outwaters and how freaked out they got by those worm things in the desert. And I was like, Trace is going to love that. I mean, Robbie would love it more. But...
And they're just like garden hoses that are painted red with like some good sound design. Well, who do you think should win this, Joe?
Okay, this one was an easy one for me because it is honestly the set piece of the year. Like, hands down, I looked at the list, thought it was so good, and then saw the dog bites the little girl from When Evil Lurks, and I was like, ding, we have a winner. I have to pick it.
So, okay, is that who you think is going to win?
No, I do not. I think it's going to be the head bash from Talk to Me, which PS is my second pick.
Okay, so I think will win is going to be the latter from Scream 6. And only because, I mean, again, we're in a city, you know, New York City, but I think that was, again, it's something that we haven't really seen in the franchise before. And it gave me those kind of same suspense feelings I get during Courtney Cox's, you know, big AV room sequence in Scream 2. Although, and I'm going to stick with that, but looking at this list again, I'm kind of like, I think that dog attack's going to win.
Well, even as we say this, though, suddenly I'm like, what if Megan's Dance wins? Because Megan just won Best Villain. So it feels like a crapshoot. Anybody could take this.
Well, unveil it, Joe.
Okay, so it is the head bash from Talk to Me with only 23.3. So this was obviously a highly competitive category. The follow-up is the dog attack from When Evil Lurks with 16.4, followed by the latter from Scream 6 with 15.5.
Man. Okay. Well, you're winning 7-5.
Ooh, look at me coming in hot this year.
Okay.
So our next one, this one could change everything, though. So our next category is Best Ending. We only have 5 nominees. I'm not going to lie. I thought we were going to have a more competitive field for this. And when we had to sit down to start thinking about which one should be nominated, it was just these ones. Like nothing else really stood out to me.
Mm-hmm.
So we have The Perfect Life from No One Will Save You. The Core 4 Survives from Scream 6. A Changed Timeline in Totally Killer, Evil Wins in When Evil Lurks, and DJ and the Rocket from The Wrath of Becky.
I can tell you one that I know will not win. It is going to be The Core 4 Survives, because I feel like out of all of the things I've heard about Scream 6, the one constant negative was plot armor. Why did none of them die?
Yeah, but the people who like the film and like the Core 4 might be inclined to vote for it, and that's definitely the biggest film in this category.
Oh my god, watch it win, and I'll just be like, have egg on my face. I think that The Perfect Life ending from No One Will Save You should win this. I just thought that was a fun, twisted, like, happy but not happy way to end a really solid Alien film.
Yeah, that's also my should win of all of the endings. You know, the other ones, there's some fun to be had. There's some stingers. There's some sadness. This one just so encapsulated what the film was trying to do. And it's a really great ending / horrible ending for Caitlin Dever's character. So yeah, for me, it was a cherry on top of the film.
So wait, who do you think is going to win? Do you think it's going to be Scream 6?
I actually think it's going to be When Evil Lurks, because people who like that movie and like how dour and depressing and just depraved it is, that ending is perfect for that movie. Just the kids walking off into the new dawn with what? The Antichrist and evil Messiah. It's perfect for the movie.
Yeah, I went with actually my pick. I went with No One Will Save You for the will win. However, I will say I did really like that changed timeline in Totally Killer. I thought the way that movie handled time travel and how like changes can affect the timeline was really, really clever.
So fun.
But all right, who's the winner, Joe?
I am correct, and I extend my lead. Evil winning means I win with 35.8% of the vote. We do have Scream 6 coming in second with 27.7, and finally The Perfect Life from No One Will Save You at 15.7.
Oh man, okay. Well, I know it's early to call it, but I still feel like I'm going to lose this year.
Ooh, we've got some further categories, so you could still take it.
All right. So next up is, again, another fun one. We have most painful injury, non-fatal. So this is something where someone gets hurt, doesn't die. We have the penis slice in Clock.
Oh, God.
We have the cheese grater from Evil Dead Rise.
Mm-hmm.
Castrated and gutted in the Outwaters. Ethan stabbed in the mouth in Scream 6. The hand stab in Sick. Fisted in Swallowed. And the bathroom sequence in Talk to Me. And I hate that I'm doing a lot of the same ones, but yeah, my should win and will win for this is the bathroom sequence in Talk to Me, which I guess, isn't that just the head bash?
It is the head bash, but it's, technically
whatever.
He doesn't die from it, so.
Yeah, that's true. That's my pick, though. What about you?
I went with the exact same as you, so if this is the right one, we're both going to keep our distance from each other. But yeah, to me, of this list, this is the most painful. It's just wince-inducing to watch.
I will say, y'all, I mean, clearly a lot of y'all did watch Clock, but that penis slice in Clock is...
Is it good?
I mean, it's not particular. It's like the equivalent of a paper cut on your penis, but like it's like because the device she has inside of her to help her get pregnant, she's not supposed to have sex for this very reason, and they do, and her husband gets his penis sliced.
Oh boy! Okay, that's horrifying.
But what is the winner, Joe?
We are wrong. It is the cheese grater from Evil Dead Rise with 32.2%. I'm not going to lie. I didn't think this was going to take it for the same reason that you said the ending of Scream 6, because I thought people were disappointed at how little cheese grater we got in the film.
I agree. But I guess at the end of the day, though, it is most painful injury. So even though it's just, a glorified shot in the film, you do at least still see what it does. So I guess I get it, but I agree with you. I was kind of like, there wasn't enough of it for me to really say anything, but it's fine. Whatever.
Yeah. So coming in second, we do have the bathroom sequence from Talk to Me with 30.3, so it was very close. And then in third place, we've got Castrated and Gutted from the Outwaters with 16.1.
All right, I'll take that. All right, well, so we've had non-fatal injuries, Joe. What's next?
All right, well, now we're moving into fatalities. So we're talking about best death. In contention, we have Ranger Liz's road scrape from Cocaine Bear. We have the partial decapitation from Dark Harvest. Deadites in the Wood Chipper from Evil Dead Rise. Russ on the Swings from It Lives Inside. Kathleen's Roast from Thanksgiving. Dog Bites Girl from When Evil Lurks. And Grenade in the Mouth from The Wrath of Becky.
Okay, Joe, who should win this?
So this is a should win, will win for me. It's the dog biting the girl from When Evil Lurks.
That is mine as well. For this, again, this was an easy pick for me, but I will give kudos to Ranger Liz's road scrape and Cocaine Bear because
yes.
You know, like when you're on a roller coaster and you take that first drop and you feel your stomach lift out of your body. I got that same feeling upon watching Margot Martindale's face get scraped off by that concrete.
Oh boy. And it's not one time, right? You have to watch her just sort of rebound a couple of times.
Yes.
It's funny and disgusting. And that is really hard to pull off.
Agreed. But nevertheless, Dog Bites Girl still should win, will win for me.
Yeah. I mean, this should be the gimmiest of gimmies. All right. So it is Dog Bites Girl from When Evil Lurks for 27.2. Shocking. Second place is Kathleen's Roast from Thanksgiving with 23.8, followed by The Deadites in the Wood Chipper for Evil Dead Rise, 18.6.
God, again with that one, I was kind of like, I've seen a wood chipper before, and it's not even a person. It's like a blob of people.
Yeah, but it is still death. We didn't specify that it had to be a person or a protagonist.
No, I know. Well, yeah, I get that. I just, again, wouldn't have been my first, second, or third pick.
Well, here's the thing. I feel like you're going to be much more informed for the next category. So why don't you walk us through it?
All right. So next category is Best Queer Horror, which again, as Joe said at the top of the episode, was our least voted on category. So, nominees are Attachment, Birth Rebirth, Wesera the Bone Woman, Jagged Mind, The Latent Image, My Animal, Summoning Sylvia, and Swallowed. And again, I've got another should win, will win for this, Joe. It is Birth Rebirth.
Okay. I ended up putting Birth Rebirth for will win, and my should win is Usera.
And you know what? I actually think that might actually win, because I feel like I saw more people talk about that than I saw people talk about Birth Rebirth.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, the fact that this was our least voted on category was not at all surprising to me. It's not even something where I can say, oh, I'm really disappointed with people. Like, the reality is that these are all small films, right? Like, these could all be independents that if you blink and miss them, then you maybe didn't even know they exist. So if anything, this is in here to remind people, hey, you should be on the lookout for some queer horror, because there was a lot of it and a lot of good stuff this year.
And we've got like episodes or minisodes at least on, I want to say, all but 2 of these films.
Yes. The only one that we don't have
Summoning
is
Sylvia.
Summoning Sylvia.
Yeah. All right. Well, who won, Joe?
So our winner, surprisingly enough, or maybe not, is the one that's available on Hulu. So Jagged Mind takes it with 27.8, but the runner-up, Trace, is Birth Rebirth with 27.7.
Oh, God damn it! Okay, and I'm sorry, like, because I guess we covered Jagged Mind at the very, very beginning of the year, but honestly, I had to rack my brain to be like, which one was that again?
Yeah, we liked it. We had a couple of issues with it, but, you know, we thought the performances were good. It's a first-time feature director, so there was a lot going for it, so I'm not too surprised by that. But yeah, I will also say that Usera comes in third with 25.7, so I think people saw a couple and voted for them in batches.
That makes sense. But I mean, you know what? Only 0.1% away. All right. So moving on then to the next one, Joe.
All right. So we have Best Non-English Horror Film, and our nominees are The Conference, which is in Swedish from Sweden. We have Godzilla -1, which is in Japanese from Japan. We have Usera, the Bone Woman, which is in Spanish, and it's a co-production from Mexico and Peru. We have Naga, which is in Arabic from Saudi Arabia. And finally, When Evil Lurks, which is in Spanish, and it's from Argentina.
Okay, so I feel like this is going to come down to 2 movies.
Yes.
And I did should win, will win for Godzilla -1, but I almost did When Evil Lurks for my should win.
I did choose When Evil Lurks for should win, if only because that movie just connected with me. It's the movie I think about the most. But in terms of a populist film, this was dead simple. It's Godzilla -1 all the way.
Well, are we right?
Oh my God, we're not right.
What is it?
It is When Evil Lurks for 42.3%. Edging out Godzilla -1 with 41.2. So this was a 2-horse race.
God, man. You know, I'm very happy. Good for Damian Rugna, too, for getting this. I will say, I wonder if part of it's because When Evil Lurks has been on Shudder and available to stream, whereas when we did this voting, Godzilla -1 was still in theaters.
This is true. Yeah, it was still in that kind of limited platform engagement. I also wonder how many people looked at this and said, oh, well, it's Godzilla, but is it really a horror film? And I would argue, I mean, hello, that Ginza attack sequence was not nominated just willy-nilly. We definitely, that sequence is horrifying and amazing.
Moving on, we are into Best Feature Directorial Debut. So again, these are directors who had their first films released in 2023. And our nominees are Robbie Banfitch with The Outwaters, Samuel Bowden for Cobweb, Jacqueline Castell for My Animal, Kyle Edward Ball for Skinamarink, Michelle Garza Cervera for Uesera the Bone Woman, Laura Moss for Birth Rebirth, and Danny and Michael Philippou for Talk to Me. Okay, you know my should win, Joe. My should win is Robbie Banfitch for The Outwaters. Again, y'all, he had director, writer, lead actor, cinematographer, sound designer, editor, like... He did the work. So that's my pick for should win.
Yes, he's a one-man factory. Although I think you could argue that nearly all of these people, these are smaller films, right? And I think most of these people probably put their heart and soul into these productions in terms of, this is my baby. I've been working forever to get it off the ground. Like, getting to that feature directorial debut is no small matter. But yeah, I agree with you. You know, I seriously considered Robbie Banfitch Banfitch as well, but ultimately my should win ended up going to Michelle Garza-Cervera because I'm just so impressed with that film. I think it's going to be a classic that people discover down the road. And it was just like, oh, it's a foreign film. I'm not watching it.
Yeah. I think our will win will probably be the same, Joe. What is your will win?
I picked Danny and Michael Philippou for Talk to Me.
I did as well. I'm pretty sure they got that in the bag.
We are absolutely correct. It is a commanding and decisive win with 57.8% of the vote.
Woo.
You'll be happy to know that Robbie Banfitch took second with 10.7, followed by another queer filmmaker in Kyle Edward Ball for Skinamarink with 10.5.
Big gap between the first and then second and third place. But you know what? Yeah. I will take it.
There we go. Okay, so now we move into Best Director. So these are people who have already directed a feature under their belt, and they're back for more. So we have Ari Aster for Beau is Afraid, Brandon Cronenberg for Infinity Pool, Lee Cronin for Evil Dead Rise, John Hyams for Sick, Nahnatchka Khan for Totally Killer, Eli Roth for Thanksgiving, Damien Rugna for When Evil Lurks, Radio Silence for Scream 6, David Slade for Dark Harvest, and Tim Story for The Blackening. And before we do the should win, will win, just want to highlight that once again, we're only looking at one woman in this category, and that is a fucking annoying thing to have to say year after year.
Well, and I think what happens is because we typically do get a lot of women in the best first feature directorial debut.
Yep.
And I think the issue is they don't ever get a second one.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's really annoying.
So I'm not laughing at that, everyone. I'm just laughing at the irony.
Of those, like, we're laughing because it's so fucking frustrating. Like, we literally had this conversation last year because first feature always has a whole bunch of folks. And then they either go to TV, they go to shorts, or we just don't hear from them again.
Well, I was going to say, because I think right now the biggest hot, like, female horror director is Issa Lopez, who, did Tigers Are Not Afraid, like, 5 years ago? And is just now coming, well, just now, I mean, a couple weeks ago, came out with True Detective Season 4.
Yeah, and, fantastic. We just got the news as of recording this, we just got the news that she's been hired back for a season 5, but it also means we're not getting another feature from her. Television is the way to go.
So who is your should win for this, Joe?
Honestly, an embarrassment of riches yet again, but I looked at the film that worked the best for me from like a direction kind of visceral level. And I ended up picking John Hyams for Sick.
I'm glad you picked that because I feel like because that film came out in January, so this is over a year ago, I feel like it's kind of gotten forgotten by all but like its most devoted fans. So good for that. I went with Damien Rugna for When Evil Lurks because while I do think he still struggles with screenwriting, I think he is a fantastic director.
Oh, yeah. The scares are plentiful and the ambiance is fucking scary. So I agree with you.
But, okay, for will win, truthfully, I'm not sure. I went with Brandon Cronenberg for Infinity Pool.
Oh, okay. This is interesting. I thought we might have the same pick because I went with Radio Silence for Scream 6.
And, I think they might win now because I feel like after how horribly they were treated and Melissa Barrera was treated, I think people are going to want to just give it the support vote. And not to say they're not deserving, obviously. I think Scream 6 is very well directed. I don't know. I think Cronenberg is just going to get the win. But, again, I'm very wary about that.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to report that you are wrong. It is, in fact, Damien Rugna for When Evil Lurks, 17.7% of the vote.
Woo!
Followed by Brandon Cronenberg with 17.2%. So again, very, very close.
Damn it. I'm not going to give myself that point, but I feel like because I said should win for Rugna and will win for Cronenberg, I should get that, but I won't because I'm fair.
No, sorry, not going to let that happen. And then my pick was third, so Radio Silence came in third with 14.3%.
All right, now we're getting into some just general feature things. So we got Best Under the Radar Film next, Joe. We have Clock, Cobweb, Dark Harvest, Horror in the High Desert 2 Minerva, Influencer, Mother May I, Swallowed, and There's Something Wrong with the Children. And I will start this by saying my should win is Horror in the High Desert 2 Minerva, and that is mainly because, I think it's fucking terrifying. I'd never heard of this movie before, and my husband, I didn't even know there was a first one. And my husband got me to watch it, saying, hey, like, the first one, it's good, but like all the scares in the last 15 minutes. But the second one is like really where it's at because the scares are like all throughout the runtime. There's a picture on Twitter that my husband took of me watching this movie. And I am like curled up on the couch, covering my eyes with my hands.
Oh my, okay.
So I'm picking that for should win because it affected me the most out of all these films.
Wow, okay. Yeah, I feel like we're also showing our hand because in hindsight, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, why don't we have Hell House LLC on any of these lists? Like, it showed up for The Clowns, but it's funny how it didn't make the count for Under the Radar or independent release. And
Yeah, well, we'll get a fifth one of those, so we'll put it on the Hereditaries that year.
There we go. The good thing is we know that we're going to be able to recognize future Hell House LLCs as well as Horror in the High Desert because those are franchises, baby. They are going to keep chugging.
Hell yeah. But who is your should win for this, Joe?
All right. My should win is Cobweb because I will admit I went back and forth on Dark Harvest or Influencer or Mother May I. Like, just... I know that you said that the best set piece or sequence is like one of your favorite categories.
Mm-hmm.
I think Under the Radar is one of my favorite because it feels like an opportunity to shout from the rooftop the films that people have slept on. And I really enjoyed all these films. The only two that I haven't seen are Horror in the High Desert and Clock.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I picked Cobweb because I think it's the film that people are just going to keep discovering. Like, I'm expecting a bunch of folks to discover Cobweb and Dark Harvest come Halloween time this year.
And for that reason, that's why Cobweb is my pick for will win.
Oh, okay. I went with a bit of a dark horse. I may have chosen wrongly, but I ended up picking Influencer because it caused such a stir when it first came out. It felt like everybody talked about it for about a month. And then everybody forgot about it as soon as new films came out. So I'm hoping that people saw this list and said, oh, right, yeah, Influencer. Why aren't we still talking about it?
Well, and actually, I will agree. I do like this category a lot because at the very least, I hope that when people get to this category, they see a bunch of films that maybe they haven't heard of or at least seen before. And they go seek them out because they're like, oh, if it's worth being on this list, then maybe it's worth checking out.
Yeah, and that's how I feel about the queer horror category as well.
Right. All right, Joe, who is the winner?
You get a point, Trace. It is Cobweb with a pretty decisive lead, 33.6, followed by Influencer with 16.6, and then we've got Swallowed with 15.3.
Okay, well, we are down to 2 categories, Joe, and right now, you have to lose both of them, and I have to win both of them to tie you.
Ooh, shit, girl. Here we go. So, our next category is Best Independent Release. We've got Beau is Afraid, The Blackening, Infinity Pool, No One Will Save You, The Outwaters, Sick, Skinamarink, and Totally Killer.
I don't think I have my finger on the pulse this year. So, I mean, my should win, obvious. The Outwaters. What is your should win, Joe?
My should win is No One Will Save You.
Okay, again, I'm looking at this, and based on how these categories are going, I think I'm going to lose this one. My will win is Infinity Pool.
How interesting. That's what I put will win as well.
God damn it. Okay. What is it?
So we are correct. It is 21%, just enough to take it from The Blackening at 15, followed by No One Will Save You, 14.8.
All right. You know what? I'm okay with that.
The smaller percentages tell me that this was actually a pretty competitive category as well. So it does feel like any number of independent film could have won it.
Well, I was going to say, I'm a little surprised we aren't seeing more rep for Skinamarink in this thing. But I think maybe it's because, again, like, it was talked about a lot. But I think that there were more people that were maybe frustrated by it than that actually, quote unquote, enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of people who maybe were like us, where we admired it, but it wasn't going to be our favorite. Mm-hmm. Or the people who really, really love it are probably devoutly passionate and faithful about it. But there's, I imagine, only a small number of them.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Final category is Best Mainstream Release. And the nominees are Evil Dead Rise, Saw 10, Scream 6, Talk to Me, and Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, man. Okay, what is your should win, Joe?
So my should win, when I looked at these films in terms of consistency, the films that I thought delivered the best comprehensive whole package, I picked Saw X.
That was my second pick. I did end up going with Scream 6, but Saw X was a close second.
All right. Okay, but do you think it's going to take the win?
No, Talk to Me is going to win.
I also picked Talk to Me.
All right, Joe, for the final category of the Hereditaries for 2023, what is the best mainstream release?
All right, the people have spoken. The film that they liked the most, that was the most readily available, was indeed Talk to Me. Takes 40.5% of the vote, followed by Scream 6 with 22.9, and then Evil Dead Rise with 17.4.
Okay, we're gonna fix how we do these point systems next year, because we're gonna give ourselves a half point if the should win is the winner.
Oh, that sounds like the words of a loser.
It is the words of a loser. I am the loser. You win 12 to 10 points.
Yeah. Although I will say, I mean, the fact that we got more than half the categories right is pretty good.
I think so too. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I kept seeing people talk about how, 2023 wasn't that great of a year for horror. A lot of like solid films, nothing that was really great compared to previous years. And I think that's a really silly thing to complain about, Joe. Like, we had just okay or solid films this year, which, by the way, there are a couple standouts.
Sure.
But I don't know. I just think it's weird to be like, it was fine.
Yeah, I mean, I will confess I get sucked into those conversations about, is this year as good? Or what was the best contemporary horror film year and so on. And I think those are fun discussions to be had, but no one should be complaining about there's no good horror that came out in 2023, because these lists, these nominations just totally disprove the notion. So here's the thing. A mostly good film, a pretty solid film, a great film, an amazing film, those are all wins.
Yeah.
Like if we're 2.5 to 3 starring babies, we're having a good time. Let's not complain about it.
100%. Yeah, there were very, very, very few horror films that I saw last year that were below 2.5 stars. And again, I call that a win.
I call that a win.
All right, everyone. Well, that has been the Hereditaries for 2023. See how it stacks up against the Oscars this year. I'm sure we have a lot of crossover.
This is true. And if you were like, hey, how come this thing didn't get nominated? Well, our patrons help us to create the shortlist. So if you want to get in on the action, maybe think about joining the Patreon. Also, that's where most of the episodes talking about these films live. So you're basically paying $10 for nearly 300 hours of bonus content at this point. So there's a lot of good stuff. And you also get to vote in the 2024 Hereditaries nominees.
Yes. So everyone, be on the lookout for that at the end of the year. But until then, we can cross out the 2023 Hereditaries.
Indeed. And cross out horror queers.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's me, Raleigh, host of Skin Crawl Podcast.
You were in the same meeting as I was when they told us an alien spaceship was headed our way, weren't you?
The Hermit Wizard, Your Majesty.
No, you called the Demon Prince too soon.
Oh, God, it's tearing me apart. A gang of hooligans attacking a poor hunchback?
Fairies called forth the wretch, as they had done many times before.
I'm just here asking around about the disappearance of Jeannie Netherwood.
We're both children. How could I have lived my whole life?
Beyond the barricade, the town was on fire.
Welcome to the Circus Strange Inferno.
Your choice shall change your future.
I wanted to prove the stories were true.
In ways you cannot comprehend.
Couldn't you turn down the volume on my sense of smell?
Skin Crawl, the greatest radio drama horror podcast of all time, created by Skinner.
Hey there, are you in need of a new weekly fix of horror gaming discussions? Then look no further than Safe Room, Bloody FM's horror video gaming podcast. I'm your host, Jay Krieger.
And I am the other one, Neil Bow.
And every week, Neil, myself, and the occasional guest get together to chat about classic and contemporary horror games and the elements that make them a standout amongst the hordes of horror games being released seemingly every day now. In addition to celebrating anniversaries and new releases, we also interview influential horror developers such as Amnesia the Bunker's creative lead, Frederick Olsen, and even the maestro of lo-fi horror, Erdorf, the developer behind the Faith trilogy. And finally, on Thursdays, we release episodes of Horror Bites, our bite-sized indie horror showcase in which Neil and I share a game that we discovered on itch.io from an up-and-coming developer. So if this sounds like the podcast for you, please consider checking out Safe Room on your preferred podcast platform, and be sure to give us a follow on Twitter @SafeRoomPod for show updates.